Without a doubt, the first thing I want to jump into with this amazing spider episode is Rod Attack. Now, the identity of who Kumoko will become in the future has been I guess, a pretty hot debate. Personally, to me, I consider the biggest mystery of this show to be Administrator D. That is the biggest wildcard to me. I have no idea what this character is and the purpose behind this. Identity, especially as much, is it important, is it not? I have no idea. But the identity of who our little spider girl will evolve into has been kind of debated quite a bit, because a lot of people think the Demon Lord, the character who I still don't know if I can say the name or not, even though it's like listed on sites like My Anime List. Sometimes people consider names to be a spoiler, so I'm not going to drop the Demon Lord's like official name. But the idea that a lot of people are saying, there's a lot of spider-like abilities with it, so that's going to be there. But I was like, if it's going to be a character at that Demon Lord table, it's going to be a character with a similar color palette. That's just how anime generally works, unless this show's going to throw us a curveball. And that was the cloaked character who had a very similar color design of that of our Spider Girl. And in this episode, we get to learn that that character was the one who killed the hero's party. And to me, I was like, oh, that's really interesting, even more of a focus, but there's no confirmation or anything like that gives me any definitive proof of that assumption. But then they bring up the fact of Rod Attack, an ability that is so devastating that it just wiped out the hero seemingly without much struggle. And very shortly after the confirmation of the one character who got to survive because he had a phoenix feather that revived him, we then focus on Kumoko's side, where she discusses her Rod Attack and how it's a very dangerous ability and how she's only ever going to use it as a last resort. Now, that could be a red herring. That could be completely a red herring. But to me, it does further add to that most likely that could be who she becomes in the future through evolution. Whether she evolves more monstrous or she goes more arachnid humanoid form. But I also have seen some really interesting ideas surrounding the split personalities, and how if there could be magic that separates them in the future. Now, this is something that I actually think could be really interesting, because if there's more than one of our Spider-Girl in the future storyline with the human perspective, that would be really interesting and would bring up even more questions like, okay, these perspectives actually was Kumoko in the future. Which one would be controlling the cloaked girl, if any, right? Now, obviously, this is all speculation, I don't know, but it's really interesting to see how they lay out their breadcrumbs slowly but surely, and even when you think you've figured out a solution to something, the bigger questions are still there, like what the hell is Admin D, and what is the purpose of this world, and why is this world going to be destroyed very soon? We know the spider side is the past. This is the spider leveling up from nothing and becoming whoever she will become in the future. The human side and everything like that is the present day storyline, and seeing the hero, someone who was so powerful, someone who believed that, a phoenix feather should be given to the defenseman of the group, because that kind of makes sense. If you're putting yourself on the line to defend the group, you're the one who needs to be revived. Who would think the hero would get one-shotted by a Rod Attack? But then here we are. It's very interesting seeing the human storyline and how it just gets more and more engaging, and just like the little subtle details that they'll spread out, like the idea of like having like these bonds and contracts between monster and human, and how someone like Shun doesn't want to actually do that, but instead, is saying, hey, we have to do this, it's probably going to save my life someday, you don't want to be stuck in Julia's situation where you're about to get destroyed and you don't have your summon ready or something like that. I really like how they always have so many mysteries, so to me personally, who our Spider-Girl becomes in the future really isn't the big mystery to me. It's more about the what is this world, what is the admins, and why are things happening like that. But there are those smaller mysteries like identities and what will happen to certain characters. And that's what makes Spider, I think, one of the greatest isekais to ever be made, because it has two plot points, two perspectives that you follow, both past and present, and it leads eventually over into one. And whenever it does officially cross over and we're just in one timeline, that's where things are going to get crazy. Now, Taboo is a very interesting concept. I've been really intrigued by it pretty much ever since Yuri was like kind of this religious fanatic saying like, hey, if you know anyone with Taboo, let me know. We gotta kill him, basically. And we're seeing, as far as I know, every time you level up skills to like their max threshold, they just revert back to zero and you gain more experience and new versions of that ability. But Taboo didn't do that. Taboo maxed out, and Taboo just gave our girl all the knowledge, and that knowledge is so overwhelming that she's still processing it. But the big takeaway is that, yeah, it's understandable why this knowledge is taboo. That anyone in this world who knew what this world truly is, it's understandable why it's taboo. And I'm curious if the religion knows of that taboo. Is there someone a part of the religion who has max taboo? And that's why it's so, like, held down to make sure no one ever knows about it, because maybe it will cause some sort of revolution. Is it something with the government? Is it something bigger? Or maybe it's just a doomsday clock. Who knows, right? There's so many little things happening, and it does paint just why things are being kept so secret. Because originally when I saw a religious group say, hey, if you know anyone with taboo, let me know, we gotta take them out. To me, that's kind of like, it's self-explanatory, right? If a skill's called taboo, and you believe the voices in your head when you level up are the voice of God, it just all makes sense. It's self-explanatory, common sense of why a religion would use that as kind of like their gospel. But to see that there actually is something specific with taboo that changes the course of everyone's perspectives, and the fact that our girl has multiple personalities and a specific personality to organize thoughts, and that still hasn't processed everything, maybe reaching max taboo will just kill you because it's too much information to handle. You see it a lot with fiction where, like, you get the truth of the universe and it's just too much to handle and your brain just can't comprehend it. What if that's kind of what's happening? There's just a lot of really interesting things happening, and that's why I love this show, is that it's constantly making you ask the questions of why is this happening, what is happening, and etc., etc. I've seen some people say, like, what was the purpose of the demon army even attacking if they have all this power, right? If we can assume one of the soldiers fighting for the demon lord was able to one-shot seemingly the hero, maybe it was multiple attacks because, yeah, you had to deal with the other soldiers first. Still, why wouldn't you do that sooner if you want power? Or does it relate to something surrounding by the knowledge of taboo and maybe saving the world or something like that? It's hard to say. Or maybe saving the world won't eventually be our girls in the future. Maybe we'll be destroying, right? We don't know. We always have to ask these questions, and that's what makes it so interesting. I definitely really like the emotional side of someone like Hsieh having to train and just getting the confirmation of what happened to his brother and not blaming a person because he knows his brother. His brother would say, I'm never going to die, but you might, so you have the phoenix feather. To then even just like the casual idea of our spider having such a big crush on this dragon because of how powerful it is. As you're seeing this brutality get ripped apart, you're seeing a snake that we thought was going to be a big bad, mindless food for this dragon, and she's blushing and is just impressed by this. She's like saying, wow, I think this is beautiful. Really does show you what living in a cave will do to your perspective when you see something like that and consider it beautiful. It's interesting though, because as far as we know, she probably could leave at any point because she marked not only the other earth dragons in the cave, she marked the humans, so she knows the general path on how to leave the cave. But the idea that she wants to kill something that's so powerful because then she'll be that powerful, I think it's an important thing to really kind of say, like, this is why she's such an interesting character to follow, because she doesn't just simply say, okay, I'm good enough, I'm going to leave the cave. She's like, no, this thing's ridiculous. Who knows what's outside that cave? I got to make sure I have all the experience I have. And once you defeat the big boss of the cave, everything at that point, like, look at the Hornets, right? That wasn't even on her threat radar. So once you kill that, probably nothing will be on your threat level in this cave anymore. The show's just great. It's so exciting, and it's so good to see how interesting the human perspective has become, because it just makes me more and more excited to hopefully see Kumoko in the future officially confirmed who's her identity, if any. Is the split personalities going to stay in one head? What's going to happen, right? I just can't wait to see it all overlap. But I'm also equally interested to see the different sides and how they slowly interact over time. Amazing episode. Definitely feels over the past month we just keep getting better and more interesting with every single episode. But let me know your thoughts and feelings and definitely your theories down below. What did you think? And where do you think is going to go with the fight next week? Do you think our girl's going to be able to pull it off? Or do you think she's going to have to retreat and then level up some more and then try again with a round 2 or 3 or something like that? Let me know your feelings down below. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, share your support, and hit that subscribe. And if you have been new around here, so until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.